Now, as long as I don't drop the mic. Hello? Okay.
They are slow today. You know, you could help me out if you're on Wi-Fi, if you could just get off.
But actually, can everyone get off the Wi-Fi if you're on it? Just like go to your phone, tap on the Wi-Fi, and take it off, because my demo does not depend on the Wi-Fi, but it does use the Wi-Fi. So when you see the next slide, all about me, take a picture of it, because you can long press on a QR code to open it, and you don't have to immediately go to it. So hi everyone, my name is Mikaela. I'm an indie iOS dev and freelancer. So up here is the QR code for my website, and then the test flight for my app Fruitful that I have been talking about and will release at DubDub. Didn't say when, but at DubDub. No, my plan is to get it there this upcoming DubDub, but I'm here, so this has been more fun than developing my own app. I'm also the co-host of the Swift Over Coffee podcast and an organizer of iOS Dev Happy Hour, which is a monthly online meetup, like Daniel had said, and a content creator. So all of this are my links to all the social medias. So choose your favorite, because I decided to get all of them. Would not recommend, but you can. And then also, like Daniel said, this is the first time that I'm now a part of the ecosystem steering group for Swift, which is super exciting. Thank you. Let's talk about AWS Lambda. So it is a function as a service. So according to their website, what that actually means is AWS Lambda is a serverless compute service that lets you run code without provisioning or managing servers. So what that actually means is you have our lovely Swift code. It's running along, doing great, and we put it in the cloud. That is all actually AWS Lambda is. You can connect to a bunch of different services, but essentially it's just take your code, put it in the cloud, and we can call it in the cloud as opposed to putting something inside of our iOS app itself. And pricing for this is based on number of requests. So you have 1 million requests per month. So if you're worried, oh no, I wrote an infinite loop, it may take a minute, but also it's okay, because you can test this out. You have 1 million requests, and it depends on the duration of your code to execute. So what that actually means is it depends on the duration of your memory allocation that you send for this function. So however much memory you allocate, that'll kind of determine how long it'll take to run, so then you are billed based on the duration it's taken to run everything. Live coding, because I like to live dangerously. Do you see? Not the same thing that I see. I have to mirror built-in display. Yes. Okay, can everybody see the font? Move this. Wait, oh no, we don't need that one. Maybe. Minimize, that's the word. Okay, so let's do this. For Swift AWS Lambda, first of all it is, all you need is the Swift 6 toolchain. So we are going to be using version 2 of AWS Lambda. Version 1 is the currently released version, and version 2 is what they're trying to work at and still working on actually tagging, but it uses Swift 6. So you have to install the Swift 6 toolchain, which you can do with the new Swiftly build tool that they announced. And then you have to have macOS 15. And because we are building our function on macOS, but when we deploy, it's going to be on Linux. So we then need to use Docker to actually build our application for Linux. So if you don't really know what Docker is, honestly, it's okay. Go to the website, download it, and you can follow these steps. And the slightly harder part is you have to configure the AWS and SAM CLI tools. So those tools are for communicating with AWS. They can take a hot minute to get set up, but you can set them up. And then you don't have to look at AWS, which I don't know if it's bonus points or not for this kind of a presentation. But let's just start with this. So we do Swift package init type executable. And then, for example, you can call this my Lambda, or you can kind of see what I did in my project was call it hello with 2 O's so that I know this is the project that I'm actually going to be running. So like every other, this is a Swift package. So we have the Swift server, AWS Lambda runtime. This is what we actually need to take Swift and run it within how Lambdas work. And then we need the AWS Lambda events for actually sending post requests to Lambda so that you can actually use it more so than the example that I'll show. So like every other package, we just have target hello and then adding everything as dependencies. So pretty basic, we're not too crazy yet. We have our basic hello world. So if we do run this, moment of truth, I've tested this, Swift run runs it and we get hello world. But let's make it a little bit more interesting and do AWS Lambda runtime. So you can see here, we are taking in a string and just printing out that string. But we are using now AWS Lambda to do this. So first, let's actually run it in terminal here. So we do a basic Swift run, and it should run. Don't know why I need to compile, I just ran it. But after that does successfully run, we can use curl to do curl and send a post request to send my name as this input parameter, and then your basic localhost /invoke, so you could change the port and this endpoint if you wanted to, but that's the default. And now it is running. So now we get hello Mikaela. So this is a pretty good app, but let's make it a little bit more interesting this time and do something like echo out a response. So if we start running that, now we have AWS Lambda events as opposed to only the runtime, because you can see our input parameter has changed. Instead of giving it a string, we are now giving it API Gateway v2 request. So what that is the specially formatted Lambda request that it takes in for like all kinds of Lambda functions, and using what is called API Gateway, which is another service under the big umbrella of AWS to connect different things to your Lambda functions. We have API Gateway v2 requests because I haven't officially tagged everything. And if you saw my package.swift, I'm just running off main. And all we're doing is taking in this event request, making headers, JSON, all looks pretty basic, and we are returning an API Gateway v2 response. We're sending OK, and then the encodable body is just returning that event. So we are echoing back out, send in a request, return that as the response. And if that is running, we should now be able to write this, which is a little longer, but it is, again, a post request to the same localhost /invoke, and we are now sending this event.json. So if we go over here and look at this, there's no tests, but we have this big JSON that is really just the properly formatted AWS Lambda v2 request that gets sent. So we have to send that to make it all work on our machine on localhost. So we are doing that, and then JQ is just a formatting thing. So now we can see we got in our request, and then now we sent it back out as the response. So that all works locally. Let's deploy it. This is an amazing project. You can do so much with this, in theory. So let's first do it. Here we go. Let's make template.yaml, which, if anyone doesn't know, YAML is just a way for formatting stuff. And we are going to be using SAM. So SAM is the serverless application model to deploy Lambda functions and a bunch of other things. But for this is a basic template that we have, and we have the date of everything. Our function is called hello, and this is then the function name. And right here is where we are going to build and zip the function that we've created, and it uses this path to go get it, and that's what we'll upload. So you can see it has basic timeout provided by AL2, which is Amazon Linux 2. That's the environment that this will end up running in because, again, we're developing on macOS, but deploying to Linux. If we keep going, then we just have our events, and this HTTP API is what we use for getting in our API gateway, which is our basic post request. And then the rest of it. So if we go through all of this, we now need to zip our project so that we have a file here, because it doesn't exist. So let's do zip demo, and we have Swift package archive, because this is a Swift package. Disable Docker image update, because we do not need to update the Docker image while I am standing on stage. Allow network connections. Because of how Docker works, we are sometimes allowing certain things and not allowing others. And then Docker, and I should have definitely hit enter when I was explaining all of that, but I forgot. So we have this slowly going, and Docker is running on my machine. As you can see, I have an update available that we're not also doing because I don't want to. And now it's compiling. So it is compiling our Swift package to get the Lambda runtime, the events package that's in this project, and it will all compile and make a zip file for us. Hopefully this is fast. This is not the thing that relies on internet, but if you haven't already, turn off internet. I need it. Oh, there we go. Build product hello complete in 40 seconds. So archived hello, and then we can see this path of .build / blah, blah, blah is the exact same as here, where it ended up going to. So this is the local, and then it's the full thing. Let's do it. SAM deploy guided. We hit enter. And guided means it's going to take us through all the different steps to set it all up. So our app name is going to be hello, AWS region. This is, of course, I'm from the US, so it's set to US East, which I actually looked up. This is not the closest region to where I live. It's just one of them close. And confirm changes before deploying. Yes. So allow SAM CLI IAM role creation. So how a lot of AWS works, and we're not going to go into it because there's certifications for you to learn that. All we need to know is IAM is how we manage identity and who is allowed to push and pull things from AWS. So we want to say allow SAM to create this for us. Disable rollback, sure. Hello has no authentication. Is this okay? This is a demo. It's going to be okay for now. But when you do this yourself, you should make authentication within your AWS Lambda functions. So save arguments, and this saves into a file called samconfig.toml. Toml is just another kind of YAML. It's true. And now it's deploying. So what is actually now happening is it is created an S3 bucket for us to put this zip file into that bucket, and then that is where it'll end up using that to run. So it is going through. You can see it's created our stack, the region, all the information that we entered, and it's uploading. Deploy, yes. We can kind of see here, CloudFormation, stack change set, which just means all the different things that we said SAM IAM is allowed to create. So we allowed it to create the bucket to put this file in. Refresh every 5 seconds. It's going pretty good. No one else is on the Wi-Fi? Fail. Error failed to create an update stack hello. We don't encounter a terminal failure. Oh my goodness. I did this yesterday and it works. Hello already exists. Failed to create hello. This was going so well. Hello already exists because I did this yesterday. Save. Of course it wouldn't work on the first try. This is not like it's development. Okay, new S3 bucket. I swear, I did do this yesterday and it worked. Like every live demo, nothing ever works, which I thought about and decided to not record other videos for. I will be impressed if this does work, though. Because I did think of this, because I did it yesterday, and I was like, what happens if I already have one? So I went and deleted it. Somewhere it was not deleted. So here we go. Hopefully it does work this time, otherwise we will keep going. You just won't get to see it actually happen live, because we already saw it work locally, but it looks like it's getting there to the end. Maybe in time I can tell a good programming joke. Successfully created. Whew. Concerned. Now, let's actually see it run. So all if we do is just curl that endpoint, and we got back our request response. This was amazing, so let's keep on going, which is, let's make this a little bit more complicated. So let's make a new file. Activity.swift. And with this, I've never been to Macedonia before. So of course what I do is ask ChatGPT to program something for me to do. So we have all these different activities that we can do, and the default is visit the lake. But if that's not the default, let me know what should be. But we are going to take this and actually use it in our application. So instead of just echoing everything back out, we can now still take in a request. We have the proper headers, and then we are using the new struct that we just created, and we are returning suggest activity. So it'll pick a random one for us, and we run it all, and that worked this time. And it's just picking a random object from this file that we had. So nothing super complicated, but still useful. So let's actually run it now, this time as well. And I did not write yes, this one. Okay, hang on. That has a lot of stuff in it. So this command, again, is the hitting localhost / invoke, sending our event.json, which is the properly formatted AWS request. And if we hit enter, we get back wine tasting. Sounds amazing. So now, we've already done all of the setup to actually deploy this. So all we have to do to deploy again is zip our project and send it. So if we zip it again, hopefully it works better this time. But that's it. We've just zip, and then I will do sam deploy, hit enter, and it will be deployed. It's going to take, okay, it was going to take fast. I was prepared to talk. It took 5 seconds. We have zipped. Now, sam deploy, send it. Because of all the steps that we've done, the samconfig.toml file that we had created and the template.yaml file, all of it is here now. So it just has to deploy with all of the settings we've already done, and then this will complete, and that is how it all works. So we have, this is the Swift AWS Lambda runtime package that we actually ended up importing. They have a bunch of examples in it, which is amazing. So in here, you can see in their basic example that they have, you can use Swift testing. So we could use Swift testing to test our Lambda function and the business logic. And this was brand new, released at dub last year, so you can use that to test everything. And you can see on the side here, they have a bunch of other examples of how do you communicate with your Lambda function to S3, to the AWS SDK, and a couple like different things in here, like the API gateway. So all of the examples on how to do that are in here. So I'll show the link at the very end of this repo, but this is the name. So you can use that as your guide to go through and start there, and then keep on going forward, and then, of course, start to make it your own. Oh, yes. I thought it was just going to go. But this will finally end up finishing, and then these are the resources that I had just mentioned. So you can take a picture of this, and it has the AWS Lambda runtime. And on the Swift package index, they did make a doc.c tutorial, so you can go through these steps, step by step, to actually finish everything and see it all deploy yourself. So thank you.